Hi, hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Today let's discuss Mahesh Dattani's play, Dance Like a Man. Dance Like a Man, first performed in 1989 and published in 2006. Mahesh Dattani, born in 1958. Mahesh Dattani's Dance Like a Man is a masterful exploration of identity, gender, art, and a generational conflict. It deftly uses the world of classical Indian dance as a metaphor for the character's internal and external struggles. The play was first performed at the Chowdia Memorial Hall, Bangalore on 22nd September 1989 as a part of the Deccan Herald Theatre, but the play was first published in 2006. The play's brilliance lies in its emotional complexity, non-linear structure, and a sharp dialogue, making it a rich text for performance and academic analysis alike. This play, one of its most well-known works, explores the tension between individual aspiration and societal expectations, especially in the context of classical dance and gender roles. Now let's analyze the characters. First we have Jairaj Parikh. Is a middle-aged man, former Bharatanatyam dancer. He feels unfulfilled due to a failed dance career. He suffers from emotional wounds caused by his domineering father. He lives in a conflicted marriage with Ratna. Next character, Rekna Parikh. Rekna Parikh is Jairaj's wife, also a Bharatanatyam dancer, more ambitious and politically savvy with Jairaj, willing to manipulate family dynamics for her career. She holds Jairaj partly responsible for their son's death. The next character, Lata Parikh. Lata Parikh is Jairaj and Ratna's daughter, an emerging Bharatanatyam dancer, engaged to the man named Vishwas. She represents a new generation that negotiates tradition and modernity. Then we have Vishwas, who is Lata's fiancé. A simple, straightforward, and from a non-dancing family. He represents the outsider's perspective on the dance world and family politics. Then we have the character Amritlal Parikh, who appears only in flashbacks. Amritlal Parikh is Jairaj's father, a conservative freedom fighter turned patriarch. He strongly disapproves of men dancing. He exercises control over Jairaj's life and also Jairaj's marriage. Now let's analyze the main themes. First of all, we have the theme of gender and dance. The title, that is Dance Like a Man, confronts the stereotypical idea that dance is a feminine activity. Jairaj struggles with a society's perception of masculinity. Ratna uses Jairaj's softness to further her own ambitions. The next theme, tradition versus modernity. The play pits the older generation's conservatism against the younger generation's aspirations. Amritlal embodies traditional values. Lata represents a possible reconciliation of modern and traditional values. Then we have the theme of parental control and rebellion. Jairaj suffers from his father's authoritarianism. There is a cyclic pattern of control. Rekna controls Jairaj, just as Amritlal controlled Jairaj earlier. The next theme, unfulfilled aspirations. Jairaj's career is a story of lost dreams. Ratna is also dissatisfied with how things turned out. Their shared grief about their son's death adds emotional depth to the failures. The next theme, generational conflict. The play shows three generations and their changing values. Tensions emerge as younger generations try to forge their own identity. The next theme, art and identity. Dance is both a liberating and a confining force in the characters' lives. The play asks, can personal identity thrive within art when a society places limitations on both? Now, the inspiration behind the play. Dattani was inspired by his experiences and observations of the Indian performing art scenes, where traditional roles and gender stereotypes often dominate. As a trained Bharatanatyam dancer himself, Dattani was aware of the challenges male dancers face in a field often considered effeminate for men in Indian society. He also wanted to explore family dynamics and at the cost of ambition, especially for artists. Now let's explain the title, Dance Like a Man. The title is ironic and provocative. It refers to the societal expectation that men should behave in a stereotypically masculine way. Dancing, particularly classical dance, is perceived as a feminine activity in a conservative Indian circles. The title becomes a commentary on how society polices gender roles. The idea that being an artist, especially a male dancer, may require one to resist a conventional masculinity. Jairaj's lifelong struggle to be both a dancer and a man in his father's eyes. Now the structure or divisions of the play. The play is structured in two acts and the narrative shifts non-linearly between present day and past through flashbacks, blending real-time action with memory and recollection. Now the detailed act-wise summary. Act 1. Represent. Lata and Bishwas are introduced. Bishwas is meeting Lata's parents for the first time. Ratna and Jairaj prepare to receive Bishwas. The family discusses dance, marriage and a family history. Tension between Jairaj and Ratna becomes evident. Lata is rehearsing a Bharatanatyam performance. There are hints of something tragic involving a son whose name is Shankar. Now in flashbacks, we are taken back to Jairaj's youth. Amritlal, that is Jairaj's father, criticizes Jairaj for dancing. Amritlal agrees to let Jairaj continue dancing if he lives in the house under certain restrictions. Rekna manipulates the situation, pretends to support Jairaj, but actually has ambitions of her own. The audience senses that Rekna and Amritlal are controlling Jairaj in different ways. Now Act 2, Represent. Rekna is trying to shape Lata's dance career. Lata wants more autonomy, resists Rekna's control to some extent. Vishwas begins to understand the dysfunction in Lata's family. The parents insist on Lata marrying Vishwas only if he supports her dancing. Now in flashbacks, more details about the tragic death of Jairaj and Rekna's son, Shankar, are revealed. Jairaj and Rekna tried to raise Shankar as a child prodigy dancer. Their obsession led to neglect. Shankar died young. The guilt and unresolved grief still haunt them. Jairaj confronts Rekna about her manipulation and his lost dreams. Rekna refuses to accept a full responsibility, though she is deeply affected. The climax. Tensions reach a peak as Rekna and Jairaj fight over the past. Lata, in contrast, seems poised to break the cycle of dysfunction. The play ends with an air of ambiguous hope. Lata will perform, perhaps not burdened by the weight her parents carried. Now, symbols and motifs used in the play. First of all, dance. Dance is used both as a form of expression and a battleground for identity, power, and gender. Dance symbolizes both freedom and entrapment. Next symbol is costumes and makeup. Stand for masks people wear, societal roles versus true desires. Then house. House is a symbol of patriarchal control. There is Amritlal's house is an example. Later, a site of marital tension and artistic struggle. Now let's analyze the main quotations. First one, a woman in a man's world may be considered progressive, but a man in a woman's world is considered a coward. This line is spoken by Jairaj. This quote reveals the central conflict of gender roles in the play. Jairaj reflects on how male dancers are perceived as weak or effeminate in a patriarchal society. It underscores the double standard in societal expectations for men and women. Dattani critiques how rigid gender norms repress individuality and artistic expression. Now the second quote. Dance was not for men, certainly not for decent men. This is spoken by Amritlal. Amritlal, who is Jairaj's father, expresses his orthodox and patriarchal mindset. He sees dance as an unmanly profession, equating masculinity with political action and control. The quote reflects the generational and ideological conflict between tradition and modernity. It highlights how art is devalued when it clashes with the rigid notions of masculinity. Now the next quote. We are not talking about dancing, we are talking about living. This is spoken by Rekna. Rekna expresses her deep passion for dance, equating it with her identity and survival. For her, dance is not merely a career or hobby, but the essence of existence. The statement captures the emotional stakes tied to artistic pursuit in the play. It reflects Rekna's ambition, intensity, and sometimes selfish choices. Now the next quote. She will be the best dancer in the country. It is spoken by Rekna about Lata. Rekna projects her unfulfilled dreams onto her daughter Lata. The quote reveals both her pride and her vicarious ambition. It underlines how Rekna sees Lata as a continuation of her own legacy. Dattani critiques parental control masked as love and aspiration. Now the next quote. You married me because I was a good dancer. It is spoken by Rekna. Rekna confronts Jairaj with a painful truth about their marriage. This court exposes the transactional and utilitarian aspects of their relationship. It suggests that love may have been secondary to mutual artistic ambitions. It also hints at a power imbalances and a hidden resentments within their marriage. Now the next quote. I just wanted to dance. It is spoken by Jairaj. Jairaj's simple declaration conveys a deep yearning and innocence. It reflects his lifelong struggle against societal judgment and a paternal control. Despite the external resistance, his identity is inseparable from dance. The pathos lies in how a basic desire becomes a lifelong battle. The next quote. You became my dance partner, not my life partner. This is spoken by Jairaj to Rekna. Jairaj accuses Rekna of prioritizing dance over emotional intimacy in their marriage. The court signifies how the relationship was built more on shared ambition than on mutual care. It reflects the emotional void and a disillusionment he feels. Dattani subtly explores the cost of ambition on human bonds. The next quote. Dance like a man, Jairaj. It is spoken by Amrit Lal. Amrit Lal uses this phrase to mock Jairaj's interest in dance and reinforce masculine stereotypes. It is the titular line encapsulating the theme of gender expectation. He demands conformity to traditional male roles, equating masculinity with power, not with grace. The phrase becomes ironic as it suggests a contradiction between art and masculinity. The next quote. I didn't want to be like him. This is spoken by Jairaj about his father. Jairaj voices a generational rebellion against Amritlal's control and traditionalism. The court reflects his inner conflict between obedience and autonomy. Yet, tragically, he ends up repeating some of the same patterns with Lata. It reflects Dattani's theme of cyclical familial oppression. Now the next quote. You ruined my chances. This is spoken by Jairaj to Rekna. This accusatory line reveals Jairaj's bitterness and a sense of betrayal. He believes Rekna manipulated his career to prioritize her own success. The court shows the erosion of trust in their relationship. It also reflects how personal sacrifices can lead to deep emotional scars. Now the next quote. You used my father to destroy my spirit. This is spoken by Jairaj. Jairaj feels doubly betrayed by his father's authority and Rekna's complicity. The court suggests emotional manipulation and the crushing of his identity. It marks a climax in his confrontation with both personal and patriarchal oppression. The language of spirit underscores the intensity of his emotional trauma. Now the next quote. There is a part of me that died with my son. This is spoken by Rekna. This is a moment of vulnerability from Rekna, mourning her lost child. It conveys grief, guilt, and emotional fracture beneath her strong exterior. The loss becomes a metaphor for lost dreams and broken family ties. Dattani uses this moment to humanize her beyond ambition and control. The next quote. We pretend to be modern, but we are just old wines in a new bottle. spoken by Jairaj. Jairaj reflects on the superficiality of social change in a post-colonial India. The court critiques how traditional prejudices continue under the guise of progress. Dattani exposes the hollowness of societal modernization without a true introspection. It also comments on the families on duplicity and unresolved trauma. Now the next quote. You still wanted to control her life, just like your father did with yours. Spoken by Rekna to Jairaj. Rekna accuses Jairaj of inheriting the same oppressive behavior he despised in Amrit Lal. This line is central to the play's exploration of intergenerational patterns. It reveals how trauma and control can become cyclical unless consciously broken. The play critiques how unresolved emotional wounds replicate themselves in the next generation. Now the next quote. Maybe a man who dances in a man after all. Spoken by Jairaj in a reflective manner. This closing reflection signifies acceptance and reconciliation with his identity. Jairaj finally breaks free from the binary views of masculinity and femininity. The court challenges stereotypes and celebrates the fusion of art and self-worth. It ends the play on a hopeful note of self-realization.